Heather McGhee, The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together. Welcome to the fascinating summary of The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee, where we explore the intricate intersection of racism and systemic issues in the United States. Unraveling the zero-sum paradigm and its influence on various aspects of American society. From public services to democracy, this book challenges our perception of the racial divide. Delve into the erosion of public services, voter suppression, and the impact of racial resentment on unions and climate change as we examine the costs of racism, and explore the potential for solidarity dividends through integration and cross-racial organizing.
The zero-sum paradigm. The zero-sum paradigm has fooled white Americans into believing that gains for black people come at a cost to them. Psychologists have explored how racial resentment affects white people's political views. People who see changing demographics as a threat are more likely to adopt conservative views. The fear of being attacked makes no sense as white households have 13 times as much wealth as black households. The zero-sum paradigm originated from the racial hierarchy invented by European colonists who enslaved African people and stole indigenous land to found a new country. White people are scared of losing out as they made their fortunes on black loss. Racism and erosion of public services. Montgomery, Alabama's public pool was destroyed after a 1959 court ruling requiring desegregation. Rather than integration, officials chose to destroy publicly funded pools, lease pools to private clubs with whites-only membership, or let pools deteriorate. This action is an example of how racism has eroded public services. Though white Americans overwhelmingly supported public programs like the New Deal in the 1950s, black citizens were excluded through legal clauses or policies like redlining. The result was a thriving white middle class. However, when black people fought for equal opportunity during the civil rights movement of the 1960s, white Americans withdrew support for public programs that had once benefited them. This abandonment was due to fear of losing economic privilege. The artificial racial hierarchy sustains this fear. Racism versus democracy. The U.S. has always had a problem with racism, and this problem has an undeniable impact on democracy. Racist voter suppression laws today echo older tactics such as poll taxes and literacy tests that were used to prevent black people from voting. This situation is still ongoing and targets other non-white voters through confusing voter registration laws and other bureaucratic hurdles. The result is clear: democracy is in danger when a particular group of people is prevented from having a say in how their country is run. The cost of racial resentment. The book discusses how racial resentment undermines unions and causes workers to vote against their own interests. It explains how the fear of opportunities for black workers coming at the cost of white workers created a divide at the Nissan car manufacturing plant in Canton, Mississippi, leading to the rejection of unionization by white workers. This fear was exploited by corporate lobbyists who used race politics to sow dissent in unions during the civil rights protests of the 1960s. It resulted in the drop of union membership from 1 in 3 American workers in the 1950s to only 1 in 16 today. However, the author also shares a hopeful example of the Fight for 15 movement that emphasizes racial unity and has achieved success in raising the minimum wage to $15. The book concludes that working together can overcome racial divisions and improve working conditions for everyone. Fighting climate change through multiracial organizing. Climate change and racism are intertwined, and you can't fight one without the other. Many wealthy white men who oppose climate action also hold racist beliefs, making it a zero-sum game between the environment and the economy. However, the effects of pollution disproportionately affect black people. The only way to combat climate change is through multiracial organizing, such as the Green New Deal and Standing Rock protests, which have united activists of all races against the fossil fuel industry. The high cost of segregation. Segregation in the United States negatively affects all communities, not just those of color. Starting with the Homestead Act of 1862 and continuing with discriminatory housing laws and redlining, segregation has been carefully designed over centuries. Exclusive zoning laws continue to enforce economic segregation, making white neighborhoods unaffordable for most black buyers and leading to a housing crisis for all poor and middle-class Americans. Segregated public schools harm both children of color and white children, depriving them of the skills necessary for cultural competency. To achieve the potential value of integrated neighborhoods, we must actively work to undo centuries of racist geography. Redressing structural racism. The COVID-19 pandemic uncovered racial disparities in infection and fatality rates. Black and Latinx people suffered more due to structural racism, including working dangerous frontline jobs, living in polluted areas, and lacking medical insurance. To solve this issue, we need tailored solutions that target inequality. Redlining maps can be used to guide the allocation of affordable mortgages and startup capital. By explicitly acknowledging the effects of racism and fostering policies that target inequality, we can achieve enormous social and economic benefits, including an expanded and revitalized middle class. Lewiston, from ghost town to solidarity dividend. Lewiston, a small city in Maine, suffered from a declining population and vacant storefronts due to factory closures in the 1990s. However, a new wave of immigration, particularly from Somalia and other African countries, brought entrepreneurs and created new jobs. Multiracial coalitions formed, promoting solidarity across racial lines. They fought for policies that benefit the many, instead of the few, and won an expansion of Medicare and reforms to combat the opioid crisis. The enemy to economic uplift is not immigrants or people of color, but the corrupt elite trying to pit us against each other. Solidarity across race lines is powerful and is transforming Lewiston into a thriving city once more.
In conclusion, The Sum of Us highlights the underlying racial tensions and the zero-sum paradigm in America that has caused detrimental ripple effects across various sectors. It demonstrates that embracing multiracial cooperation and dismantling systemic racism can lead to solidarity dividends for everyone, not just racial minorities. Recognizing the power and potential of unified communities, it becomes evident that the solution lies in the pursuit of inclusive policies and institutions that cater to the collective needs and aspirations of a diverse country. Remember, when we join forces for the greater good, we can properly address society's pressing issues, prosper together, and enjoy a shared success.